Welcome to our presentation on aid effectiveness in gender-related projects. With only 4.5% of official development assistance having gender equality as its principal objective and 66% of ODA not supporting gender equality at all, aid effectiveness evaluations fail to measure whether gender projects are a high priority, well-designed or have an impact. Therefore, to evaluate how effective aid has been in a gender-associated project, our case study looks at research conducted by the International Women's Development Agency and the Vietnam Women's Union in relation to 3 microfinance-based projects in Vietnam. The projects, funded by AusAid, provide a range of financial and non-financial services to over 4,900 rural poor over a period of 10 years. Drawing on a random sample of 175 representative women and using both quantitative and qualitative data, the case study evaluates the impact of aid at the grassroots level by examining the impact the projects have had on the lives of the women, their families and the community. Specifically, it focuses on the following 3 objectives. 1. Poverty alleviation, to improve livelihoods and the development of household economies of poor women through credit and savings and diversification of economic activities. 2. Empowerment and gender equality, to improve the status of women as individuals, members of the family and the community. 3. Sustainability and outreach, to maintain a balance between institutional sustainability and maximising outreach to the poorest of the poor. By analysing project impacts against stated objectives, valuable insight into understanding aid effectiveness on gender-associated projects can be gained.
Benefits and mismatches. The projects had a positive impact on poverty reduction, with many women experiencing increases in income and greater access to capital. Many women reported that the loans enabled investment in their businesses rather than spending on daily expenses. Fewer families suffered food shortages, which improved health, nutrition, and lifestyle. The most significant benefit, however, came from the combination of education and training and had a profound effect on the economic and social advancement of the women. The skills training and education was seen as crucial and practical, enabling the women to apply their knowledge to their enterprises as well as to other areas. The improvement in empowerment and in gender equality, however, was the most profound, with most women reporting positive changes in their status as individuals, in the family and community. Some of the changes included increased confidence, autonomy and respect, increased assertiveness in decision-making, more respect and control over loan use, and a fairer sharing of tasks among family members. Sustainability and outreach, however, had the least impact. This was mainly due to no specific legal framework for microfinance in Vietnam, so programs could not reach institutional sustainability. And the inadvertent beneficiary selection criteria meant that very few extremely poor could be reached. Mismatches between impacts and objectives were seen, however, in failing to reach the poorest of the poor. The inadvertent selection criteria adopted, i.e. membership in the VWU, and the expectations that clients already had a business, meant that the projects did not target the poorest of the poor, but only the poorest of the already economically active. In Vietnam, there is no legal framework to recognize microfinance institutions. Therefore, MFIs are unable to accept deposits and provide savings services to the poor, which also limits institutional sustainability. Although there was a reported unequivocal positive impact on women's empowerment, the lack of a universal understanding of empowerment in Vietnam and how it is commonly understood in the West prevented accurate measurement. Entrepreneurial women need increased access to markets. However, participation in the project did not provide this access for the majority of women. Rather than the producers finding their own markets and negotiating prices, a middleman was required. The research showed that many women would choose wage employment over self-employment. This need was not addressed in the project.
We believe that the following recommendations are ways in which aid effectiveness can be improved. Reaching the poorest of the poor. With demand for savings greater among the really poor than demand for credit, programs that focus on micro-grants, payments for work, small loans, saving services and saving groups rather than credit would be more effective. A clear definition of empowerment. There is a need for a clear definition of empowerment that is culturally interchangeable with precise indicators to measure it. This needs to be clearly specified during the project design to ensure empowerment objectives are in line with the expected outcomes. Ways to enhance empowerment through education and capacity building needs to be of greater emphasis than credit in any future intervention. Market access. As entrepreneurial women need increased access to markets, the establishment of cooperatives where resources are pooled would be more effective. This has worked well in China, where Chinese women have adopted cooperatives in order to address their lack of access to resources such as credit, finance and marketing skills training, and knowledge about market access. Role of government. The Vietnamese government needs to play a greater role to ensure institutional sustainability by creating a legal framework within which microfinance institutions can operate. This will allow them to accept deposits and provide savings services to the poor. The Vietnamese government could trial the introduction of a cash transfer program such as the Bolsa Familia, introduced in Brazil to target the extreme poor. It is currently being trialled in the Philippines, whereby cash is transferred to poor women via a social contract, conditional upon them sending their children to school and maintaining their health care. The Vietnamese government should undertake accurate social mapping of where the concentration of people living in extreme poverty exists. This will enable aid to be targeted more effectively to those populations in their community.
By analysing the impacts of 3 microfinance-based projects in Vietnam, we can draw the following conclusions. 1. Aid has been effective to some extent in poverty reduction, empowerment of women, promoting gender equality, and increasing the health and lifestyle of recipients, their families and the community. 2. The projects failed to reach the poorest of the poor and attain institutional sustainability. 3. In order for aid to be more effective, we believe that investment in saving services, access to markets, wage employment programs, and a clear definition of empowerment is required. The government of Vietnam also needs to play a more active role to ensure aid is targeted where most needed. Finally, a major drawback of the projects is its exclusion of men as targeted beneficiaries. For aid to be fully effective, especially in areas such as empowerment, a more holistic approach that includes men and women and boys and girls is required.